The next menu we are going to look at is called Zone. Zones are quite interesting as they allow for a lot of manipulation of movement. What this means is that they are the primary way for you to control your pawns, to control your resources, to organize, to sort everything. So let's begin with the stockpile zone, because that's the first one. Stockpile zone allows you to create an area which is, as the title would imply, used for storage. Whenever you click on the stockpile zone, it is going to get a name. You can rename it whenever you want. For example, demonstration stockpile. And now it will have the name demonstration stockpile. You can see in the bottom corner the size of the stockpile, or the zone I should say. Each one is different. And here, within the storage, you are able to do several things. Priority refers to the level of importance that your pawns will give to this particular stockpile. If it is normal, it will treat it, the pawns will treat it randomly, meaning that this stockpile and this stockpile have the same priority. Some items will get placed here, some items will get placed here. You're able to further manipulate this by checking or allowing specific items to be placed in a stockpile. By default, corpses are allowed, well, some, not all, but as you can see here, at this moment, all corpses are not allowed. Plants as well are not allowed. What this implies, or what this means, is that we will not plant any things in this particular area. It also means that pawns will try their best to actually remove all of the trees if at all possible. So, for example, if we do not want some food items to be placed in the stockpile, we will simply go inside, select one of the menus, and for example, we don't want carnivore meals, so we will just remove them, and pawns will never put them here if they are present in this particular colony. For example, if I want all foods to be banned, I will just remove them from the menu here. I will forbid them, and pawns will try to put the food elsewhere. For example, in this stockpile, foods are allowed, so now all of the food is going to be prioritized and put in this top right stockpile. However, if we play around with priority, the highest priority stockpile will be the one they place that food in first. So, to give you another example, I have a stockpile here, stockpile zone 2, which allows all foods, however, it forbids everything else. To add another thing to this, we have a priority which is preferred. It is one level of importance or priority greater than normal, so all of the food, as you can see, is placed here. There is no food placed in my stockpile for resources, and of course this demonstration stockpile which has nothing in it. Next important thing about stockpiles, and pretty much the last important thing, is of course you can delete them. You can modify them to be smaller if you want to. You can modify them to be larger if you want to, and you can copy the settings, meaning that if I want this stockpile and this stockpile to have identical settings, for example, I will take this stockpile settings, I will copy them to my clipboard, and over here I am able to paste it. What this means is that all of the settings from this stockpile will now be applied to this one, and they will be identical except for their size and of course for their position on the map. Finally, if you want to hide the zone for whatever reason, you can. It is still there, except it is not highlighted, as you can see, and that's a pretty neat thing if you want to do some screenshotting or something similar to that. You can delete the stockpile, but of course that is self-explanatory. Another type of stockpile is the dumping stockpile. This one is used primarily, so it acts first of all in the exact same way as a regular stockpile. It has all of the same menus, everything is the same, except by default it is set up in such a way that it picks up chunks and corpses. So these are the two things that regular stockpile does not have enabled, or I should be more specific, the regular stockpile does not enable chunks. It occasionally allows corpses, but not, well, some people prefer to put the corpses on in the same stockpile, some don't. So the main issue, or sorry, the main function of this is to pile up stone chunks and corpses if you want to. Basically anything that the pawns will haul, they will haul to this stockpile by default, and it is very useful as such for sorting materials. Every single stone chunk will get placed here. For example, these steel slag chunks, it will be placed here, and again you are able to use it to further sort your belongings. The useful thing about them is that you don't really have to set them up. They are made for one function, which is for stone cutting and for butchering, and well, those are two functions really, but they are very useful at that. Next up is the growing zone. The growing zone, as the name would imply, is used for growing plants. In the same manner as with the stockpile and the dumping stockpile, what you do is you select an area, you create a growing zone, which you are able to expand or shrink or delete, hide as well if you don't want the color. But here you have several new functions. So in the growing zone, you are unable to place any objects or any materials such as steel, blocks, wood, and so on. Instead, it is used for growing food. Here we have a plant option, which if you click, you have different varieties of plants that you can simply plant. Not every plant requires the same skill level, and of course pawns have different skill levels. Some plants you will be able to plant immediately, for example rice or potatoes. Some others, such as cotton or heel root, have a minimum skill requirement. Cotton does not, but heel root does, or strawberries, hops, psychoids, plants, basically drugs. There is also another plant called treble strand, which requires a very high skill level, but yes. So depending on which one you select, the colonists will be planting that one. And as you can see here, you are able to allow and forbid sowing and cutting. Cutting just means that they will cut any plants within the area, whether they are actually planted by your colonists or whether they are just naturally growing, for example these bushes. Sowing, on the other hand, allows for plants that you have designated to be planted, and that's it. Shrinking zones is just the same function that you can find by clicking on each and every single zone, and it simply shrinks the zone, as you can see here. Home area is an area which your colonists will repair, maintain, be in for most of the time. So home areas are by default the areas around your buildings. They usually stretch out, as you can see, about 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks from any building that you create, from any zone that you create, from anything that you create. You are able to control it, or rather shrink it, by using the clear home area button, which is going to remove a specific area of movement. What this simply means is that in case of a fire, pawns will defend this area and try to put out a fire in case there is one. However, if you don't want them, for example, you don't want them to deal with anything outside of the walls, of course you just clear the area, and now they will not defend this particular square or rectangle in case of a fire. In case a building is attacked, for example this wall here. If it is not part of the area, they will not repair it. If it is, then they will repair it. Allowed area is our next menu here, or our next option. This simply means, as the name would imply, where specific animals or pawns, colonists that is, are allowed to move. In the schedule menu, you are able to specify an area where some people will move. This applies for animals as well as for colonists. So if you just specify home area, none of your colonists will ever leave this purple area. However, if they are unrestricted, they can go the entire map. With the option of expand allowed area, you are able to manage different areas, create new ones. You're able to expand, shrink specific areas if you want. You can rename them, you can just copy them, you can delete them, and so on. This basically allows for management of movement, and it is very nice in case of a raid, in case of a manhunter pack, where you don't want your colonists to leave the safety of their walls. Clearing the allowed area just means that you choose a specific area, you don't want it anymore, and it is the same as clear home area, except for all of the other areas that you choose. For the roof area, by default, enclosed buildings will immediately have a roof placed over them. However, in case you want to remove it, you're able to select so, and instead of a light yellow, we will have a dark orange, which indicates to us that this will not be roofed. It will be open to the sky. Ignoring the roof area just means that there will be no roofs placed there. If they were previously put, they will still be there. However, when it comes time for repairs, they will not repair the roof. And finally, snow removal and clear snow removal, and pollution removal and clear pollution removal areas. Unfortunately, I am unable to demonstrate, mostly because currently it is not snowing and we have no pollution. However, what this simply implies is that you will select a specific area where colonists will clean both the snow and the pollution, and clearing the snow removal and the pollution removal area means that you are removing the area you want colonists to pay attention to. That's it for the zones.